Would Jannik fear prime Roger Federer? History doesn't give us an answer because these two never faced each other.
When I came on tour, he was struggling with injuries and surgeries.
However, it's possible to arrive at certain conclusions if we dig into the right stuff. Could Sinner defeat prime Roger Federer? Well, I think I've got an answer. A few weeks ago, I put out a video comparing Alcaraz and Federer across a bunch of different categories. A lot of you came clean about being biased in the comments, and honestly, completely fair. Roger's Roger. But being a big Sincaraz fan myself, I also wanted to compare Sinner to Roger, especially after he just completed the Sunshine Double, which Federer himself did 3 times. And more than anything, it's time we actually think through these hypothetical matchups instead of just vibing with whoever we grew up watching. Prime Roger, we're talking 2004 to 2007, and then that ridiculous comeback version in 2017 was probably the most dominant player the sport has ever seen. Sinner, on the other hand, most people agree, plays a lot like a young Novak Djokovic.
The style of play that we both have, that we have quite a bit of similarities.
Sinner plays the same type of tennis as Novak, but more aggressive, taking the balls earlier, playing faster.
So with that framing in mind, who wins? Here's something people haven't fully given Jannik his full marks for yet. His serve has quietly become one of the most dangerous weapons on tour this season. Matthew Willis broke down the data, and what it shows is kind of insane. Sinner is landing first serves within 46 centimeters of the line at 124 miles per hour, faster and more accurate than Novak Djokovic. If that's not machine-like precision, I don't know what is. He's racking up more unreturned serves, winning more service games, and honestly, it just doesn't seem like anyone out there has any answers for it. The combination of placement and pace is frustrating for opponents.
And he's serving phenomenal. It's super tough to read, it's super tough to return even when you read it.
But prime Roger's serve, it had all the disguise, variety, placement, and consistency. An identical motion on the serves made it difficult for opponents to read. And his first serve percentage was consistently among the highest on tour, which meant he was rarely in trouble on serve. Based on ability relative to his height, Federer is arguably one of the best servers the sport has ever produced. And the 2015 to 2017 version, even more dangerous. Now, combine a deadly serve with a devastating +1, and you have little to no chance in his service games. We'll give Sinner an arbitrary score of 84 here, and then Federer's serve should be about a 92, thereabout. Federer's serve is simply more clutch and the better weapon. Now, it gets more interesting though on the ground strokes. Federer's forehand is probably the best shot ever witnessed in the sport.
If I had to choose the ultimate forehand, I'd probably go for Federer's. I think, how aggressive he is. It's the best forehand I ever came up against.
Sampras called it the greatest shot in tennis, and Pete wasn't exactly known for handing out compliments. Players feared for their lives when they came up against the Federer forehand.
Probably take Roger's forehand.
The best forehand, I think it's Roger has the best forehand.
I'm not even being nostalgic about it, I promise. Biomechanically, aesthetically, tactically, it was a weapon unlike anything the sport had ever seen. He could flatten it out at well over 80 miles per hour cross court, he could snap a wicked inside-out forehand to your backhand, and he could drop it with a casual slice that made you feel like he was insulting you. The disguise was unreal. And in his prime, it was arguably the single most reliable offensive weapon in men's tennis.
That was beautiful how he took over that point.
Beyond the obvious, Federer took the ball a lot earlier and higher than most people, creating pace and dictating sharper angles with the shot.
But when you watch on the gun...
Against Sinner, Roger's forehand would surely do the heavy lifting once the rallies start. Now, can Sinner hang with that? Sinner has the best forehand quality on tour at the moment. Look at the racket face pointing away from the court during his prep, the wrist snap, the compact swing. That whippy, bent elbow motion that lets him absolutely pummel the ball without sacrificing pace to take it early. Most guys have to choose. Jannik doesn't.
The biggest thing with him, he can do the same thing over and over again. So he hits the ball super clean with great depth.
The guy hits 105 mile per hour forehand winners mid-rally like he's swatting a fly. The repeatability and consistency are what really set it apart. Shot after shot, same quality. Jannik has the pace, topspin, and end-range motion. What he doesn't have, though, is the variety that Federer brought. The range of speeds, spins, and trajectories that Roger could cycle through in a single game, Sinner just isn't quite there yet. If we're going to give a 98 out of 100 to Rafa's heavy topspin forehand and a 97 out of 100 to Juan Martín del Potro's nuclear forehand, we can conveniently give Roger a 94 and Sinner an 89. Sinner can definitely hang in with Federer in the forehand exchanges, and it's closer than you think. The game has gotten a lot faster and more powerful, but Federer still has the edge here though. But what about the backhand? Federer's backhand, and every Fed fan knows this, was always the one question mark on his game, and that's because Rafa exposed it. The one-hander requires perfect timing to execute, and Rafa just did a great job at peppering it. An obvious trick Federer didn't have answers for until later in his career. Also, we saw the occasional shanks and whiffs. And we can just see the unforced error to winner ratio off the backhand. Pretty high. But even at its most fragile state, the Federer backhand produced the kind of magic that left even Rafa bamboozled. Federer's one-handed backhand was elegant and particularly lethal on grass. He could shorten his swing, block, and also redirect so easily. And then came 2017, when Federer transformed his backhand from a defensive, slice-heavy shot into an offensive weapon following an equipment change. Technical adjustments resulting in a more compact swing, coupled with more aggressive positioning, made Fed's backhand a nightmare. He was taking the ball on the rise and looked to shorten points with targeted backhand depth and directional punches. Simply put, the backhand had now become a weapon. But even the Neo backhand in 2017 is not touching Sinner's two-hander. Sinner's backhand is by far the best out of the current crop in shot quality. His early unit turn, low base, compact swing also allow Jannik to take the ball on the rise without getting jammed. The biomechanics behind the stroke production make it look like some sort of slingshot, and that allows for more spin and speed with no trade-off in either department. Jannik is able to redirect backhands with so much pace that he easily turns defense into offense. His average backhand speed is 73 miles per hour compared to the tour average of 66. Lower net clearance, more RPMs, and he's in the top 10 in steal score, meaning that he turns defensive situations into offensive ones better than almost anyone on the planet. That's peak Djokovic territory. He's easily going to bully the one-hander. Federer can't slice his way through Sinner's backhand. Jannik is just going to rip it right back. He'd blink first in the backhand-to-backhand exchange. I'll give Sinner a 95 here. The 2017 Federer backhand gets an 84. Not even close. Moving on to the next category, we have net play and volleys, which is perhaps the most one-sided category of this whole video. And Federer fans, I know you've been waiting for this one. Roger Federer at the net was art. His volleys were intuitive in a way that you genuinely can't teach. The touch on the drop volley, the reflex half volley, the ability to read the passing shot angle before his opponent had even swung. Early in his career, Federer played a large chunk of points off the serve and volley. It was a different era, totally different style. And that's the thing about comparing different eras, is that it's really difficult to do, and some of you even say it's pointless. Federer gliding to the net was pure poetry. He took care of business in a casual way that even made you feel stupid at times. His precise movement and perfect timing, coupled with the angle volleys and deft touch, was genuinely a joy to watch. But the game has changed, and if you want to know more about that, watch this video where I break down the politics behind surface changes. Compared to the early days, Federer pulled back a bit and didn't venture forward as much between 2006 and 2012. However, in the years after, Federer started to volley more, and he was virtually unbeatable at the net. Sinner, still a work in progress up there, and he's been open about adding more variety to his game.
I was very predictable today. Didn't make one serve and volley, I didn't use a lot of drop shots.
Can Sinner serve and volley? Oh yes, he absolutely can. His approach shots are more aggressive than they used to be, and he's become comfortable finishing points up there. Even though it's not his primary domain, Sinner holds his own at the net. He might not come to the net as much, but when he's on the attack, no one else on the planet converts better than him. If we're saving 95 plus for the all-time serve and volleyers, your McEnroes, your Edbergs, then Federer gets a 91 and Sinner gets a 79. And in a hypothetical matchup, Roger would absolutely weaponize the net with serve and volley, drop shots, and slices to drag Sinner out of his comfort zone. That tactical pressure would be very, very real. Overall, Federer edges Sinner on the attack. These are completely different styles. All-court genius versus baseline perfection. Taking cues from the Federer-Djokovic rivalry, we've got a pretty solid blueprint for what this would look like. Federer with the variety, the flair, the creativity. Sinner with that unrelenting pressure from the baseline. Both guys will get their chances. The only question is, who will break first? Sinner is the best returner in the world right now. He reads your serve absurdly early, uses an aggressive stance to steal time, and immediately goes on the offensive. It's the Djokovic echo once again, and Novak's return is widely considered to be the greatest in history, but Sinner is most definitely walking in his footsteps. He recently even tinkered with his return stance and got some serious results out of it. Like Djokovic, he makes enough returns while also finding the right level of aggression. He wins more second serve return points, more total return points, and carries the highest break percentage of anybody on tour. The way he grinds down your service game, piling on pressure until he gets a short ball or weak reply, is genuinely suffocating to play against. He'll create chances against peak Federer, no question. Prime Roger was also a solid returner, and the improved backhand in 2017 made him even better because he wasn't having to protect it as much. But this one still isn't really up for debate. Sinner is comfortably the better returner. Guys, if you love these comparison videos, be sure to like and subscribe because I'm going to be doing a lot more of them here on the channel. This one's tricky because we're comparing two completely different expressions of elite movement. Prime Federer floated. His feet were the quietest in the business, maybe the most economical mover of the entire Big Four. His anticipation and court reading were so sharp that he almost never even looked like he was working that hard. Whether that's natural talent, genius, or just 20 years of always being in the right place, and it's probably a combination of all three, the result was a player who always seemed to arrive at the ball perfectly positioned to do pretty much whatever he wanted with it. Sinner, on the other hand, is a different story. His movement is elite in a much more athletic way. Watch him slide, and you'll notice that he's way more balanced at the end of the slide than almost anyone else on tour. His wide base lets him hit full ground strokes mid-slide from neutral rather than defensive positions, and his recovery is almost instant. That makes it basically impossible to pin him down. That ability to hit full-speed ground strokes at end range, that's the Djokovic trait that Sinner has clearly picked up. And he probably has a skiing background to thank for some of it. Federer would absolutely try to use the full dimensions of the court to open things up, but Sinner would chase everything down and push right back. Players have gotten faster, stronger, and more explosive.
Right now the level is really high, that's for sure. The new generation is always going to be better than the last generation.
On pure athleticism and recovery under pressure, Sinner's going to edge this one. Now we're getting into some nuance. Sinner's biggest physical vulnerability is heat and humidity. He's cramped up. He's thrown up on court, and while his record in 4+ hour matches isn't as bad as people like to blow up, it's still a real thing. But just like Djokovic figured out his physical issues early on in his career, I have every reason to believe that Sinner will also be able to solve this puzzle in short order. Federer in his prime was genuinely underrated on the fitness side. Nobody pushed him to his physical limits all that often, which made it easy to underestimate him. But the guy was an elite athlete. Smart scheduling, excellent conditioning, and he never really broke down in the big moments.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a mindset to stay physically fit, you know? It's something that takes a lot of work. It's not easy every single day to wake up and think like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and do it and try to become better.
It's close. Both guys can go deep in matches, and both have the conditioning to hang. This is a really tough one to call, but I'm gonna have to give Federer the edge here with 90, and I'll put Sinner at 88. The reason being, Federer just inherently played shorter points with his game style, so that would in theory give him the ability to last longer in matches. Up next is consistency. Federer's consistency was built on efficiency. He won points fast, limited his errors, and almost never dipped in level. The stat from the 2007 US Open says it all. 105 straight points against John Isner without an unforced error. Yes, Federer put a caveat on it himself, but still, that's absurd. His shot selection was S tier. Sinner gets the Mr. Consistent label in modern tennis, and for good reason. He almost never has a bad day. Not flashy, but rock solid from point to point and week to week. In a hypothetical matchup between these two, the level would be sky high throughout. There are no ties in tennis, so either way, one player will have more success than the other. Both guys get maximum points here. Sinner gets a 94, Fed a 93. Overall, Sinner is the better defender. He wins more points from a defensive position and still makes you earn every single point yourself. I think he'll be a real headache for Prime Roger, and I've got some receipts to back it up, even though these comparisons aren't exactly apples to apples. How did Federer fare against the more defensive players? A 4-6 record against Andy Murray between 2004 and 2009. A 7-13 record against Nadal in that same stretch. But the one that really sticks out? Back-to-back losses to a guy outside the top 50 named Guillermo Cañas at the Sunshine Double in his prime. Sinner prefers to take the initiative and attack, but when he has to go into full lockdown defense mode, nobody does it better right now. He'd most definitely be a real problem for Prime Roger. But when the stakes are high, who's the better performer? This is the part that actually decides everything. Surface and tactics. These two are very different players in terms of where they thrive and how they win. Federer's brilliance was in executing his game plan with perfection. Serve, transition gracefully to the net, put it away. His game was at its most devastating on grass and fast hard courts, where his serves were the sharpest, his net game was the most dangerous, and where points were shorter and relied more on variety and single shot quality. Sinner, on the other hand, is fundamentally a hard court player, and one of the best the game has ever produced on the surface. The guy literally just completed hard court tennis and then decided to do the Sunshine Double as a side quest. And as we saw in 2025, he's also figured out grass and was 1 point away from winning Roland Garros. Jannik thrives in extended rallies that allow his relentless baseline pressure to compound over time. On grass, Federer wins, and it's not even close. His serve and volley, slice, and net presence would be devastating. On clay, it's actually more competitive than you'd think. Sinner is a very good clay court player, but Federer was also exceptional there too. On hard courts specifically, a moderately paced court like the Australian Open surface, I'll go with Sinner, and yes, the guy who lost to a 38-year-old Novak at this year's Australian Open. Recently, Fonseca said this about Sinner when comparing him to Alcaraz.
Alcaraz has more arsenal than Sinner. Sinner's more like a robot that just kills the ball and does everything perfect.
Against Federer, Sinner would be faced with the difficult task of figuring him out on the court. Although the circumstances were different, we actually got the closest thing to a Federer-Sinner preview when Grigor Dimitrov faced Sinner at Wimbledon. And Federer himself said it. Watching the match gave him a rough idea of how he'd try to beat Sinner. Big serve, rush the net, aggressive slicing, early pressure.
At Wimbledon, when Grigor was playing against Jannik and I was sitting there, that made it easy to think how it could have been, because Grigor plays very similar to how I played.
Federer is the more complete player tactically. That's just real. Under pressure, it's also difficult to say who's the better performer because they're both mental giants in different ways. Federer's mental game in his prime ran on confidence. He played with this unshakable belief that he was the best player in the world and that the moment wouldn't be too big for him. That kind of presence, that aura, is in and of itself a weapon. Sinner's mental game is different. It's cold. He doesn't get visibly rattled. He doesn't scream at the top of his lungs or point to his ear after every point. He just keeps playing. Think about what this guy has been through. A suspension and the whole public circus around it, and then he comes back, reaches the final in Rome, Roland Garros, wins Wimbledon, reaches the final at the US Open, wins Paris, wins the ATP Finals. Loses to Novak at the AO, then drops one to Mensik, but then goes on to sweep the Sunshine Double. Talk about the kind of mental resilience that reminds everyone of Novak Djokovic at his very best. That ability to reset after adversity and play the next point or tournament like the previous one didn't happen. Sinner has that quality, and it's rare. He's incredibly difficult to crack. In a big match, high-pressure situation, Sinner wouldn't be intimidated by Federer's aura. That's what makes him different from many of the players who faced Fed in his prime and simply believed, somewhere in the back of their minds, that they were going to lose. Now with that said, score this one how you see fit, and drop your thoughts in the comments. When I watch Jannik Sinner play, I'm reminded of Novak in many ways. The way Sinner is built as a tennis player mirrors the Djokovic blueprint in a way that should truly, genuinely alarm anyone. He's not a carbon copy of Djokovic. His movement is slightly different, his serve is a touch better, and his forehand is more of an offensive weapon than young Djokovic's was. And that means Sinner would likely exploit the same structural pressure points that Djokovic did when he was playing Federer. Federer has the better attack, but Sinner has the better defense. Both are clutch under pressure, and both men achieved a whole lot at 24. So, at the end of the day, it'll come down to the tiniest of margins. Federer, even in his prime between 2004 to 2007, lost to these guys. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that this version of Sinner would give Prime Fed major problems. Sinner has what it takes to beat Prime Fed, but it's not going to be a walk in the park. Just like the Djokovic-Federer rivalry was close, I think Sinner-Federer would be close. It's too bad, we'll just never get to find out. Once again, guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any ideas, topics, or players that you want me to cover, drop a note in the comments. I'm looking for my next bit of inspiration. Until next time, keep going for the Lions.